All right, is this thing on? Freak Show, how you doing? Welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about Cold War's campaign mode. It's less than optimal, I guess, is the way to put it. Let's get into it. All right, guys, how you freaking doing today? I hope everybody's having a wonderful day. If you're new here, think about hitting the subscribe button, throwing a like on the page. Tell me what you think about campaign mode for Cold War down below. These are my first impressions, which is a really tough video to make because your first impressions are the entire thing. So it's basically a review. The campaign is so freaking short. Now, I'm going to preface everything that's discussed in this video. I'm going to preface everything by saying that there was a year's worth of development that got shortened. I know I've been harping on that for a while with this game, which, you know, I'm throwing a lot of slack out on this, but at the same time, I feel like if you're going to present a product, then you need to have it fully developed and fully ready to go before you, like, you've got one shot to throw your work out there. And this half-assed, anyway, it's so hard to say because it's like, I can't really fault the developers. Their timeline got pushed up by an entire year, but at the same time, I can default the developers because there's so much wrong with it. You know what I'm saying? So I guess my biggest thing is that Activision is at its worst again, just trying to make a bottom line or a dollar happen. So long story short, it's very unfortunate. The what we got. I mean, Cyberpunk 2077 has been delayed for like a year and a half now. We're getting pushback on different other stuff as far as, like, I wanted to play the Destruction All-Stars game. That's been pushed back. I mean, and there's other stuff that's been pushed back, but that's not really what we're here to talk about. First impressions, Cold War campaign. Number one, campaign is way too short. So my first impressions is really a review. Number two, I feel like graphics and, you know, audio and that sort of stuff has not that big of an issue. I did have an instance where something very interesting happened. All right, let's go. Whoa, explosions. Another explosion. I have no clue what just happened. Dude, my whole PS5 just like my PS5 won't turn on right now. So long story short, I seriously thought that my PS5 had bricked at that point. I was in the middle of playing the game and the game system literally just shut off. The light on the PS5 went out. I couldn't, you know, like, I couldn't turn it back on with the controller. I had to actually turn off the PS5 and then unplug it from the wall and plug it back in order for it to actually be able to reset. So it was actually a very scary moment for me. My heart sank about 3 times because when it first happened, I was like, what in the hell just happened? And then the light went out and then my heart sank and I was like, oh my God, did my PS5 just die? And then I tried to turn it on with the controller and it wouldn't come on. So that freaked me out for a little bit. And then when I unplugged and replugged it back in and was able to turn it on, I was like, thank God. Like, I totally thought that the game had broken. So anyway, that was not a good feeling, especially to start off, since that was like the second mission or something like that. Coming on to the next part, looking at story for first impression type stuff. This stuff doesn't really correlate very well or come together very well. When you get toward the end of it, sure, there's a little bit of a tie-in and things kind of make sense. I'm trying to make sure that, you know, there's no spoiler type thing. But all in all, each one of these missions seriously feels like a standalone little gameplay that you're playing. That's just very, very random and very weird. And it doesn't correlate or find any kind of sense of direction. I feel like you're like, I just don't feel like a story is very well developed inside of playing this game. They put a lot of different stuff on this quote unquote evidence stuff where you like read out all this information, which I sat for a very long time and read out a lot of stuff thinking that it was going to generate more and more understanding. But there's random things that come up. It's like at one point you see you get an evidence piece of some guy's glasses, like, oh, we obtained his glasses, and inside the glasses there was a neurotoxin something or other. Has absolutely nothing to do with anything in any part of the story about anything except for the fact that he had basically like a cyanide pill to kill himself in case of capture, or use it as a weapon. They said they speculate that it could be used as a weapon. It has nothing to do with anything, which fine, little bit of whatever lore, I guess, if you want to call it that. It's really bad lore if you want to call it that, but anyway, it's just like a tidbit of absolutely nothing that gets thrown into the game. And so I spent a minute reading this paragraph of figuring out evidence that had nothing to do with anything. And so after reading about 4 of those, I kind of just like chalked it up as like, well, I don't want to read any of this because it really doesn't pertain to anything. There might have been stuff that was relevant, but at that same time, like, tell me a story. That's what the campaign is supposedly for. And so that's why I'm going to chalk up the year of development to being like, okay, well, since we can't really tell our story, we'll just throw it in a bunch of text. So you're like reading a book. And I was like, well, someone wrote a script, so we'll just throw all of that script into different parts. Anyway, I feel like there's a sense of underdevelopment in which they don't play out everything that was supposed to happen. One of the biggest things that I see from that for myself, which might be a tad bit of a spoiler, which shouldn't be that tad of a spoiler because it's in all of the previews. They have Ronald Reagan come in. They have a voice actor for Ronald Reagan. They have a model that they made for Ronald Reagan. It's like, oh, that's so cool. And they use him once. They use the voice actor twice, but they use him once. They use the actual model once. And my whole preface of that was like, why would you spend so much time like someone creating him and putting him in this room and animating and to use him literally once? Again, I could chalk that up maybe to a year's worth of time being moved forward, but at the same time, it seems like it's so terribly underdeveloped. They have a few talking sequences in between missions where you can like kind of figure out another bit of a storyline. The way that the missions are developed, instead of going from mission to mission to mission to mission, there's like this board where you can like decide what mission you want to play and whether you want to play a mission again. And they give you like 7 or 8, I think, or whatever. There's like 7 or 8 options for missions or whatever. Now, when you go into the quote unquote chapter sequence, they stretch it out into like 13 to 17 or something like that. Which just makes me feel like you're taking one mission and splitting it into 2 parts when there's not really 2 parts that are there to make your mission count feel like a full campaign. Because I mean, I played through the entire thing. I did play on a regular balanced combat, or what they said was balanced combat. But we rarely did anything. I mean, we didn't do much of anything for the entire thing. As far as just, we went to a spot, we cleared some enemies, and then, yeah. I mean, I understand that's pretty much the premise of Call of Duty, but I mean, there's nothing that's impactful for the story. There's nothing that's like super resonating, that like stood out or made you feel in some way like that it was worth actually playing. I just when I compare it to other storyline, when I compare it to Modern Warfare 2, in the fact of like, we're racing after this general who is like, who has betrayed his country and betrayed everything, and is like, double agent type thing or whatever. You have this general where we're tracking him down inside of this longboat, and he's in a helicopter, and then we get the helicopter to crash at the same time that we come over a waterfall or whatever. And then and then we're like on the ground and we're having this big fist fight and everything, and then we like pull the knife from our chest, flip it in our hand, and it's like that was like 10 years ago or like 12 years ago or whatever it was, and that sticks in my mind so well. It's like, oh my god, this was so cool, like this was so amazing. Like I really enjoyed that campaign where we're fighting all of the terroristic type stuff, and then, you know, moving forward, it was like so ingrained in my mind and so well. This one, and I might be one that's just kind of like this for campaigns. I'm for Black Ops campaigns. They try to do this, you know, what is it called? DK Ultra or MK, the MK Ultra, like drugging of people and like trying to have them produce visions and stuff. And they play into that again in this one. While cool, it's very confusing to try and like be the person that's underneath this happening. And then anyway, long story short, they did that all within 1 and 2 and whatever. And I've always thought that their storytelling technique was lacking within those games. And so I just feel like that's just, you know, reciprocated here, that the storytelling is just a little bit wonky, a little bit off. And so with that, I feel like this just protrudes onto that. It just continues along that same line where the storytelling is just not as, it's not my cup of tea. Let's put it that way. It's just not my cup of tea. So anyway, I'll be having a full review come out for the entire game, including all 3 parts, giving it an actual score, and going through all the different parts. I know that some of my first impressions have come out before this, and we're giving it a little bit of praise. That was literally off of 1 night / 1 day of playing. My views have changed significantly over the past couple of days, just as I've played more. And with this campaign literally being able to be played within 6 hours, and that's including their little mantra of having to find evidence to be able to like do more or be better or any of that sort of stuff. It doesn't bode well at all. And I'm one to like single player story style type stuff. I've heard other people who are like, zombies and campaign are just absolutely beautiful. Multiplayer is the part that really sucks about this game. I'm on the train of like, multiplayer is sufficient enough. That's not great by any sort of standard. But campaign was a real letdown, honestly. I wanted more. Let's be honest. I mean, I wanted more. Anywho, those are my first impressions, chat. Freak Show. Those are my first impressions. I appreciate you guys sticking to this part of the video. If you would, think about leaving a like, hitting the subscribe button, leaving a comment. Tell me what you think of the campaign. What are the goods? What are the pros? What are the cons? And I will give you a wrap up of the entire review later. If you want to come by and talk to me about anything, or watch me play at any time, I stream on Twitch. Link is down in the description below. We do have some merch. If you're wanting us to help support the stream, help support the channel, think about hitting the merch link down in the description down below. Enjoy your freaking day. I will see you guys in the next video. Deuces.